All right, boys, we are live.
I need to be much fancier like you guys. I like it.
We should get an Emmy for that, I think, right, Matt?
I think so, yeah.
What's this? Oh, like a Grammy, right? The sound equivalent of an Emmy? Like just
I don't know, man. You're the Emmy award
podcast production. That should be a Grammy category.
One day, man. That's the goal.
I think there's the full-on EGOT in there for us somewhere, right?
I think so. Matt's got new toys.
Yeah. Have them like preloaded on like a Stream Deck, and you're just like hitting sounds.
There you go. Oh, Matt's got both, huh? Yeah, you got the Stream Deck.
I have a Stream Deck and the mixing board.
He's got a whole Rodecaster Pro.
I basically just modeled Mike Koenig's. We just went and saw his setup, and I'm like, I want all that.
He's a good dude to model. So.
Yeah. He is. Well, Greg, obviously we're talking about you're up to amazing stuff. And the last time we introduced you to our audience, I think it was Podfest, right? Like in February of last year.
It was like literally a year ago today, like around this time. It was Podfest. You guys were putting on a little mastermind to your community. And I was that guy who was like, hey man, can I just like crash your party? And graciously said yes. So yeah.
Well, dude, it paid off because I know your session, I don't know what we were calling it. It felt like this round robin podcast day in person. Yeah. And you were definitely the one that people were talking about. At least I heard the most. Or like, I never thought of that idea or that approach or that perspective. And I know you're bringing that here in a new format because you even have this extra edge. That you're also layering on top.
We need
right, Matt? Come on.
Sorry. Wait, hold on.
Don't even. Such a jerk. But dude, give us the rundown, because I know things have changed for you just in the last year, but I would say for a great way, like you've scaled out, but I mean, you're doing even better things.
Yeah. So when I came to that group about a year ago, we were doing a ton of video production. So people flying all over the world to Orlando, Florida, to a studio that we had there. And we were building out TV shows for them, social content for them, doing infomercials, reality stuff, like all kinds of fun stuff. And then the great situation of 2020, I don't know if we can say the word because they'll like flag us and then no one will watch us live. We did lose a significant portion of our business from people who were no longer jumping on airplanes to go to a, indoor studio and spend, good money on video stuff. And Cliff Note version is it really allowed me to think about, well, if I have to start over anyway, why not build the business that just gets me so excited and then also takes the last 10 years of media work that I've done with just some amazing people and apply it to a product that I really believe in, and a product line that we can really grow. And again, use all those principles like that we taught at the mastermind, like leveraging other people's platforms and, getting on media, creating shows, but now having kind of a physical product, it's a supplement line, which, that we kind of started. And man, it is, it's incredible. And B, it's like super nerve-wracking and stressful, and like I've had anxiety attacks, all kinds, like all the things, right?
So as I laugh at your anxiety attacks, but no, I'm laughing because it's a whole new bag of worms. I know with e-com.
Well, it is like in our world, right? Like the affiliate world, the info marketing space, you could have an idea at like noon, like at a lunch, and then launch it the next day, right? You could throw up a page, do a VSL, hook it up to a Stripe account. But like with this physical product, like, it took us 6 months of development, going back and forth, doing taste testings. And then like, yep, it's shipping out. Oh, nope, it's shipping out next week. Oh, it's shipping out next week. Oh, it's shipping out next week. And we had a big launch plan for October. Then we had a big launch plan for November. Then we had a big launch plan for December. And we didn't end up getting product at my house until December 21st. And so I told my wife, I was like, hey, babe, I'm working the week of Christmas because I got, pallets of product now that I got to start working on. So, it's a different game. And then, the other side of it is you're spending a lot of money on inventory that if you don't have the marketing in play, if you don't have process, like every day that there's a pallet of product sitting in my garage, like that's costing me money that I need to get out. So it's just a different way. Again, it's not harder. It's not worse. It's not better. It's just different than I think what most, info marketers, people in the coaching consulting space are used to.
Oh yeah, and we're working on our own launch, Matt and and I think we're taking it for granted because, like you just said, we can pretty much confidently say we're going to launch in about a month. But for us, obviously different with info, so it's a interesting thing. I had the same conversation with Ryan Lee yesterday, and you guys are mutual buddies, so he's like, "This is insane." So even the best marketers and smartest entrepreneurs have a struggle with it, but talk about, because, with Edge, and you were so gracious to send us some of your first product. And Matt and I both have been cracking out on it.
Ooh, look at that.
In a good way.
Product placement. I like it.
You like that? So, Matt's just showing.
I haven't got the clipboard.
I love that. That's amazing.
See, I'm an ambitious podcaster. Look at that. I love hustle and flowchart. See, I got all of it right there.
Man, this guy's got style and grace. I love it.
Look at him go, Matt. But yeah, tell us what you want to do here, because I think you're doing something unique with the supplement line, which is unique to, you're mixing it with all the interesting hacks that of how to actually leverage this to be an entrepreneur, to step up as a better family person as well. I mean, this is all wrapped up.
I love that. So, working with entrepreneurs for the last decade plus, everyone's like, well, you're in the supplement business. That's totally like left field. Why did you do that? But, over time, as you work with people, you start to see some of the same reasons why people don't get ahead or don't get success or don't take action on what it is. And it's not that they need to buy supplements, right? Like, I think that they supplement your lifestyle and things that you have going on. But what we've really started to see is, distractions are through the roof, right? Email, dings, social media, just everybody grabbing your attention. Now with the last year of more people staying home and like right now I'm recording this, I'm sitting outside because I got my 2-year-old inside and my, other kids are, doing homeschool, and like, it's madness. So we have all of these distractions. How do we focus on the things that actually matter? And then you have this whole like, productivity porn that's like out there in our space. It's like, 87 ways to be more productive, or 44 things you need to do in the morning before you even start your day if you want to be a rock star. And it's all of this notions on productivity. How many things can I get accomplished in a day? And I looked at it and I'm like, it's not about being productive or necessarily checking off more things. It's about creating more meaningful work and doing things that actually matter, whether that's for your legacy, whether that's for your mission. We call mission and ambition kind of the same thing. But it's just what did we work on today that actually made a difference, whether it's in our customers' lives, in our lives, in our families' lives, and we didn't just check off 47 things. And so we started to see all these commonalities of why entrepreneurs are having a lot of trouble today, and really started to think about, well, how can we help them to optimize their energy? How can we help them to optimize their focus? How do we help them? I know you guys have had Stephen Kotler on the show, but like get into that flow state, get into that zone where, like, I sat down at the computer and I wrote a 20,000 word sales letter in like 2 days. Like, how do we get there faster? Because that's going to ultimately allow these entrepreneurs to, like, create their app, launch their podcast. Like you guys going through a launch right now, if you guys are in that flow state, on a consistent basis, right? You are optimally performing every single day. You could compress that time to launch. And again, this isn't like, saying you guys are distracted, but like you guys have a lot of different projects going on. But if there was that focus on a singular goal, we would get there faster. And so we'll talk about some flow triggers and things like that here today too, but it's about maximizing energy for output. And I think that's the big thing that I want to get across, because that's, as an entrepreneur, our only goal is to produce stuff, right? Yeah. To produce marketing campaigns, to produce products, to produce outcomes. Like, and if we're not producing things, we're not really an entrepreneur.
And as entrepreneurs, our vision of potential and opportunities are so wide until we choose to focus in. So, and Matt and I have had these discussions just yesterday. We're like, yeah, this launch is actually so good for our brain and our mindset, because we can collectively now put our energy into one thing and kind of allow the rest to happen or have our system. So, yeah, man, I think this is great. I got some slides here too queued up. Is it time to jump into those?
Unless you guys got any more preamble stuff to do, we can roll right into it. Make
anything on your side for everybody. Yeah,
Matt. All right, I'm good. Let's go. Let's dive in.
All right.
We'll probably pop in and out. Greg, as you're going through these.
No, go for it. And I'm gonna go full screen. Did it actually go full screen? Did you lose me?
We're good.
We're good. Okay, cool. So, unlimited energy for entrepreneurs. Like, that's what we want. How do we wake up every day optimally energized to do all the things on our list. And we're gonna go through, and you can see I talk super fast. So you're gonna get like 2 hours worth of stuff in like 30 minutes. But that's what you want, right? Like we don't need to beat around the bush. Give you the good stuff and get out and then start to utilize it, right?
Definitely. Hey, Greg, really quick, and just prompting everyone. I know we're on YouTube and Facebook. Throw in the comments. We're going to be monitoring all that stuff. So any questions for Greg? Probably hanging out for like an hour, top of the hour. So we'll do Q&A at the end too. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, and let's do this. I wasn't planning on this, but just because I want to create, get people really involved in this. How about for anybody that asks a question, we will pull someone at random at the end and we'll send them a can of Edge. So a 30-day supply of our new supplement. All you gotta do is ask a question. It could be like, Greg, why do you talk so fast? Right? Like, I don't care. We just interact, ask a question, and we'll randomly pick somebody that asks a question, and we'll I'll ship you one out this afternoon and get it to you next week. So
super cool. Thank you, man.
Let's do that. All right. So jumping into this. So here's what we're going to do today. A quick overview, the big picture of why we're trying to increase our energy and our output, the principles for living an ambitious life, and then our 7 energy hacks, and then a bonus hack at the end. Not going to really jump into this. So this is about a year ago. I found this magical picture of the 3 of us hanging out.
There it is.
In Orlando, Florida. I don't know who took it because I didn't take it and you two didn't take it, but I found it on the internets.
I'm going to throw it out there. I think that was Scott Carson. I would have to say he was sitting over there, and he sent us. That's him. I'm going to give him credit.
So cool photo. It was a good time. And so Cliff Note journey, about 15 years ago, I dropped out of college to become a rapper in a rock band, toured the country for 10 years, had a recording studio in Orlando where I recorded everyone from Bone Thugs and Harmony to Trick Daddy to JT Money to a lot of down south rappers. And it's just super cool career, which led into entrepreneurship because at the time, like rappers were the entrepreneurs. Like Jay-Z was a rapper, but also owned the record label. Master P was a rapper, also owned the record. Like they were the cool entrepreneurs. Cause like 15 years ago, it wasn't as cool as it is today to like be an entrepreneur. It was kind of weird to go on that stretch. So, I got into the hip hop world and then spent the last 10 years in the media world, producing documentaries, starring on a reality show on Amazon and helping thousands of entrepreneurs to create videos, create content, build their brands online. But I do it all for the picture that's on the right, which is my family, my wife, Jen, high school sweetheart, met her at her sweet 16. So she's seen me through all of these weird, awkward phases from the rapper days to the early entrepreneur days to, now having an amazing family with 3 boys. And the reason why I care about this stuff so much is because I care about my work and I also care about my family. And if I give all of my energy, while I'm sitting in front of a computer and typing on buttons, and I don't give that same energy to my kids, I'm shortchanging them. And then the roles are reversed, right? If I'm giving 100% of my energy to my family and I'm not bringing it to, the computer and to my work, well, then I'm not going to be able to provide for them. So it's not necessarily about balance. It's about having the energy to sustain you through all of that. And so that's why we're going to talk a lot about energy today and why we should care about it. And I mentioned this earlier, so I'm going to skip over this real quick. But as modern entrepreneurs, we have more and more on our to-do list than ever before. And it doesn't matter if you're using automation, if you're outsourcing, you have a growing team. Like there's a million things that we have to do today, or we think that we have to do today. And that's taking us away from, really getting closer to our big dreams, goals, and ambitions. Our distractions are robbing us of our energy and taking energy away from the things that like really matter, right? Like, did you need to take that extra call instead of getting home early to, throw the ball with your son or, go tumbling, doing some gymnastics with your daughter? Like, did that matter? And did that deplete your energy, or did that fill you up with energy for the important or unimportant tasks? And if we don't have enough energy left in the tank, how are we going to tackle the projects that need us to perform at our peak? If you got a big podcast interview today, if you've got a big sales call today, and you're not bringing your A game, well, you're letting yourself down. You're letting your vision down. You're letting your mission down. And we can't and shouldn't want that. So some principles that I live by, and some principles that I think are really going to help us to establish this. And this, again, comes from Steven Kotler. I've gone through his program, an amazing program. And in the program, he talks about the goal is not to be productive or to be even more productive. It's to create more meaningful output. It's not about the number of things you check off, but the number of meaningful things that you produce throughout your working days. The second half of that, which I love, and this is from Rich Diviney, just put out a really great book called The Attributes. And he says that the goal isn't peak performance, but optimal performance. And so Rich was in the SEALs and, started really talking about, it's not about peaking, but it's about performing optimally all the time. So at the drop of a hat, the snap of a finger, a bell going off, you can snap right into optimal performance. And the example that he gives of most people are looking for peak performance. Well, peak means you're peaking at a specific date and time. So think about we're recording this like 2 days before the Super Bowl. All the players for the Super Bowl, they're trying to optimize for 3 hours on Sunday afternoon. Right? That is peak performance. All the practice, all the prep, all the nutrition, all the coaching, all the guidance is trying to get them to peak for 3 hours on a Sunday, right? But the problem is we're not football players. We don't just have a game on Sunday afternoon. We probably Monday through Friday, for some of us Monday through Sunday, we have sales calls every hour. We're trying to produce videos. We're jumping on podcasts. We're writing copy. We're sending emails. So we need to perform like it's our peak almost at every minute of the day. What do you want to peak on your first sales call, but not your third sales call? Like your first sales call was more important than your third, right? So we want to sustain our performance for as long as possible throughout the day. And so as an ambitious entrepreneur, you should strive to perform at your peak as often as possible for as long or as sustained a period as possible. You're not trying to peak, at 10 a.m. in the morning. You're trying to sustain that energy and sustain your performance throughout, whether it's you work for 4 hours like Tim Ferriss or you're working 20 hours like Grant Cardone, right? It doesn't matter, but how do you sustain that performance for that entire period? And then if we're performing at an optimal level, well, then we're able to produce legendary work that makes you proud, that adds value to the market and gets you excited to jump out of bed. And then you can profit so that you can live your version of whatever your ambitious life is. The goal of our businesses aren't to work ourselves crazy, no matter what, Grant or Gary or whoever you follow says. The purpose of our business is to provide value to the marketplace and allow us to live our life, right? And do the things that we want, create autonomy, freedom, whatever word you want to use. So we want to create profits, and we create more profits if we're producing more legendary work in our business. So how do we do all that? Well, I'm going to share with you 7 ways to create more energy. Some of them are going to be super obvious. And I'm a big fan of that common knowledge doesn't equal common practice. Just because you know something, well, are you actually doing it? Have you tested it? I am far from, a A-grade level biohacker, but I test a lot of different things. I implement something. Did it help me? Did it not help me? Well, did you actually do some of these things? Some of these things probably never heard of before. So I hope it's a good combination of the tried and true, because the tried and true are tried and true for a reason, and some new stuff that's really going to help you to get into that optimal state as quickly as possible. So number 1, this is really important as it comes to focus, when it comes to clarity, when it comes to, hey, I have a big goal. Like I know a lot of people are like, I want to impact 1 million people with my podcast, or I want to sell, 100,000 copies of my book. Well, that takes a lot of energy and focus, attention, and resources. So establishing rules, which we're going to talk about here, allow you to create the space and the freedom to do those things. And so I can't take credit for this. I actually learned this from my coach, Craig Ballantyne. He teaches this in a book called Perfect Day Formula that I encourage everybody to go grab today. So it's from that. And so what Craig teaches is that rules actually give you freedom. We think that rules restrict us, that if we can only, drive 65 miles an hour, that it restricts us from driving 100 miles an hour. But it gives us freedom because we know exactly what we can do. And it keeps us safe, and it keeps the people around us safe. Rules actually give you more freedom in your life because it frees you from, going off onto a tangent and keeps you on a straight line for what it is that you want to do. Rules are also non-negotiable. Like you can break rules, but they're kind of non-negotiable. If the speed limit's 65, it's not a gray area. The speed limit's 65, right? So they're non-negotiable. And if you have rules for your life that are non-negotiable, there's a very, very good chance that you will follow them. And if you follow them, you're going to have the life that you set. Now, the cool thing is that we're creating our own rules. These aren't rules that your mom made for you or, your boss made for you. They're rules that you're creating for yourself. And so if you're creating them for yourselves, they should help you in that way. And I'm sitting outside today. It's a lovely, 65-degree day in Orlando. So there's some traffic that comes by every couple seconds. So
you have the coolest outdoor room ever, by the way.
Thanks,
we don't have those out here in San Diego.
So what I'm going to encourage you guys to do, we're going to do some work today, is I want you to establish 3 rules for your life. And I'm going to walk you through this with some examples because I want you to leave this having done this. And again, as far as participation in this, if you want to win a free 30-day supply of Edge, take if you got a piece of paper and you're creating your rules, take a picture of them, share them with Matt and Joe. And that'll also count towards this little giveaway that we're doing here today. So we're going to create a rule for your work life, a rule for your health, And a rule for your kids or family. And if you're like, I'm sick of talking about kids and family because I don't have them yet, we'll talk about lifestyle, right? So one rule in each of these areas. So we're going to start with the rule for your work life. And now there's a million things that we could do in establishing a rule, but I want you to establish one big overarching rule for your work life. And it could just be something as simple as, what time will you start work? Right? Like I start work at 9 a.m. every day, right? I'm just using that as an example. That means if someone wants to book a call with you at 8:30, it's non-negotiable. You don't take it because your rule says that you start at 9. The reason you probably want to start at 9 is because maybe you want to make breakfasts with your family, your spouse, with your kids. You want to take them to school. You want to do these things. And so therefore, if you have a rule that you start your workday at 9 a.m., nothing can interrupt that time prior. But if you don't have a rule for what time you're going to start work, well, couldn't somebody technically say, hey, Joe, do you want to grab some breakfast today? Hey, Matt, do you want to jump on a Zoom at, 8:15? And it might cause you to go, you know what? Let me just do it. And you start slipping into that pattern. And all of a sudden, 3 days a week, you're taking calls before 9 a.m. But that rule makes it black and white. Hey, Matt, do you want to do a call this morning at 8:15? Sorry, bud. You can book that call at 9, right? And so what time are you going to start work? The same thing goes for what time will you end work? Like I stop working, and this is actually my rule. You'll see in a second. I end work every day at 5 o'clock Eastern. And that's because that's my like magic time with my family. I do dinner. We go and throw the ball out front. I'm coaching baseball. So I don't take dinner meetings. I don't go out and, hey, can you grab a happy hour drink with me? Hey, can we do a Zoom? It's like, I don't do it. I end work at 5 p.m. The other thing that does is it forces me to get everything done before 5 p.m. Having those deadlines and that scarcity in place makes me actually get more done. So what time will you end work? What will you not compromise on? So for all the Dan Kennedy fans out there, one of my favorite rules like ever is that if you want to communicate with Dan, you can't send him an email. You can't send him a text. You got to fax the guy. And you got to get the fax in on a certain day or else he won't read it for another week. And I love this rule because for Dan, and this might sound absurd, especially to some of the younger people listening to this, that you have to fax this guy like your request or your question. But what it does, and I was with Dan and he really broke this down for me. And he said that the reason why he makes people fax is not because it's the most efficient form of communication. It's because if you know that you can only send me one message a week and it's going to be a fax, are you going to put the best message possible onto that fax? He's like, if I allowed people to text me, they'd be texting me all kinds of just nonsense all the time because people usually don't think before they text. They just text. And so he's like, if I make them fax me once a week, they're really going to think about and create a good question to ask me. And so that's his rule. He doesn't compromise on it. You can't send him an email. The guy doesn't have an email address. That's his rule for his work life. So my work rule, I end work every day at 5 p.m. and that is non-negotiable. So I encourage you guys, create your work life rule. What is the rule for your life when it comes to your work? Going to health. And I'll try and go, I'm going 100 miles an hour, but I'll go a little faster just to get this moving.
You're good,
what will you eat, drink, or consume every day? Is this something where, I'm going to drink half my body weight in water every single day? And that is a rule. That is a non-negotiable. This was one for me. It was water when I had a nutritionist and I hired her, and it would be like 10 o'clock at night. And I'd be like, oh crap, I'm like 30 ounces off. I am chugging 30 ounces of water, like right before bed, which means that like at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting up to, use the restroom. But that was like a non-negotiable rule. And it was a rule that I had with my trainer at the time. And so is there something that you are going to make sure that you will? And the other side of it, something that you won't. Is there an exercise or physical activity that you'll take? Like it's non-negotiable. I will go and do yoga, 3 days a week. I will meditate 7 days a week. And it is a rule. It is established into your practice. And what will you not do no matter what? So here's my rule for health. Right now, I will only drink water, coffee, and Edge. That's it. So right now, no soda, no juices, no alcohol, no beer. Like if it's not water, if it's not coffee or it's Edge, I don't drink it. And so that's it's an easy rule. So now this Sunday, I go to a Super Bowl party and they're like, hey, man, do you want a beer? I'm like, nah, man, I'll take a water. It makes my decision-making black and white. Now, the reason I do that is not because I don't enjoy a cold beer on a hot afternoon. It's because I know in order for me to perform at my best come Monday morning, if I drink 6 beers, 7 beers, 8 beers, am I going to feel awesome on Monday morning and be ready to go get it and be optimal for my clients, for my market, for my team? No. So I've established these rules so that I can be at my best all the time. Final rule, a rule for your kids and family. What will you do or not do on a daily basis that will make you more present with your family or in your life, right? If you don't have kids and you don't have a spouse yet, what will you do that will make you more present with your friends? That will, maybe you want to go and find a spouse. Well, what are you going to do on a daily basis to try and find that person? What is something that you must get done every day in order to make the day great? Is there just, a certain thing that you need to do every day? You need to go for a walk. You need to, play the piano. You need to, I'm a big archery person. Like, you want to go shoot archery. Like, what is that rule so that you can do that? What is non-negotiable? So my rule, it kind of piggybacks off the finishing work, but I do no phones from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. That's 7 days a week, not just Monday through Friday, but Saturday and Sunday. Again, it allows me to be fully present with my kids. So even though I leave work at 5 o'clock, if I'm eating dinner with them at 5:15 and I'm just, refreshing Facebook or Instagram or, replying to text messages, am I actually present? No, I'm there, but I'm not actually present with them. So those are examples of 3 different rules that you can establish for your life. One for your work, one for your health, and one for your lifestyle, your kids, or your family. Those just starting there will make a profound difference on your life because it makes a lot of your decision-making black and white. Like, will you take this call? Well, does it fit in my parameters of when I work? Then I will. If it fits outside, I don't. And it frees you up so that during the time that you're going to work, during the time that you're with your family, during the time that you're going to work out, you actually do the thing that's important to you. So that's really cool. So going right along with that, thing number 2 is calendar hacking. And this is also something, so I'm stealing 2 things in a row from Ballantyne, but they're instrumental. These have changed my life more than anything. And he talks about this calendar stuff in a second book called The Perfect Week Formula. It's how he builds out his week. I don't do it word for word to the T, but I love giving credit where credit's due. If I don't come up with something, I want to definitely source those folks. And Craig's an amazing guy, an amazing mentor. So what you want to do is when looking at your calendar for the week, whether you do this on a Sunday, a Monday, like whenever you do this, schedule the things that are most important to you first. Most people do this backwards. Most people say, all right, well, I have meetings until 6 o'clock on Tuesday. I guess then I can fit in time with my kids. I guess then I can fit in date time. I guess then I can, I got a 30-minute window at 9 o'clock at night on Wednesday that I can go to the gym. And to me, again, as an entrepreneur who lives and dies by freedom, autonomy, like, shouldn't the things that I want to do in my life come first? Shouldn't, like, if I know that going to the gym, working out, date night, things with my kids help make me a better entrepreneur, well, shouldn't I put those into my calendar? And so I schedule those things first. Date night, gym, reading, your massage, walks, bike rides. I don't like even like free play, right? If you read some of those books about like thinking, like having that thinking time that you want. Make sure that they're in your calendar. Then you open up your calendar for your must-dos. That could be your team meetings. That could be, batch recording all of your podcasts. That could be, working on your campaigns. That could be coaching calls that you have to do with your clients. What are the must-dos in your business? A webinar, not that you're attending, but that you're hosting, right? Your sales calls, writing copy, like making time for the big rocks in your business. And then finally, you add in stuff from the outside world. So now that you blocked out, I'm going to go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm getting a massage on Tuesday. I'm doing a date night on Thursday. I'm working on my webinar copy all day Monday. I'm hosting my webinar. Now with that leftover time, now the outside world can start to fill some of that. Your catch-up calls, sending out your Calendly link and people booking it in your calendar. They get like leftover time. Right. And it's because you need to focus on, again, not being the most productive, but on the outcomes that actually move the needle forward. So calendar hacking is really, really big. So before anyone can interrupt my day in my life, I already have, I go to a ninja gym Monday and Friday mornings. I box on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. I block in my copywriting or my free writing time. I block in all of my coaching calls with my clients. I block in my thinking time, eating. It sounds corny, but yes, I schedule food. I'm one of those entrepreneurs who, like, if I didn't schedule food, I would literally just sit in front of my computer for 10 hours in a row. So like, yes, I schedule lunch breaks and things like that. Date nights with Jen, they're typically Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. So we have one today. We get a brunch next week. We're looking for like beds, like toddler beds for our 2-year-old, but like we do that every Friday morning. Like it's in my calendar because that's important to me and it's important to our life. So I only open my calendar from 10 to 5. So again, remember I stop work at 5, so no one can book a call after, and I don't allow anyone to book something with me before 10 because I take the kids to school and do some of these things. So again, this works for me. This doesn't have to be your schedule, but what I want you to start seeing is that you can create your schedule. You can control the way you run your business. And if you do that, you're going to have more energy for the things that matter to you versus, your first 3 hours of the day are, dealing with, people booking time on your calendar and, catch up calls and all that. You've just taken 3 of maybe your most productive, most energized hours of your day and given them away to things that don't have any meaning for you whatsoever. So your action step, go into your calendar and schedule 3 things that you want to do next week. Do you want to go to the gym? Do you want to get that massage? Do you want date night? Schedule those in now so that no Joe Schmo can come in and no Joe pun intended. Joe Schmo can come in and book something on your calendar and take your energy away from the things that matter to you. Number 3. So this one revolutionized the way that I sleep. And so my question is, as entrepreneurs, how many of us have trouble falling asleep at night? How many of us just sit there in bed and we're stressed out? Maybe we have this idea and it just keeps ruminating through our mind. Maybe we're solving a problem, or maybe like for me, like one of my problems, my mind just doesn't shut off. It's always thinking of different things. And for a long, it's not that I necessarily had insomnia. It's not that I was necessarily like the worst, but like I just couldn't fall asleep because my mind was always racing. And so I hired a nutritionist. Her name's Casey Arnold. She's amazing. And one of the big things we worked on actually wasn't nutrition, but sleep. I wasn't recovering good. And if you don't have enough sleep recovery, that people way smarter than me that talk about sleep, I'm just going to teach you a little sleep hack that I have, is that if I could use up all of my available, not just mental energy, but physical energy for the day, my body would trick my brain and say, hey, you need to go to sleep now. And so how we do that is I use a Whoop band. So a Whoop band, it's a fitness tracker. It's the one I like because it doesn't just track sleep, but it tracks a score called strain, which is how much stress that you're putting on your body on a daily basis. Are you pushing your body too far? Are you pushing it at an optimal level? Or are you, just sitting in front of your computer all day and you're not getting any motion at all? You're not putting any strain or stress on your body. And so the Whoop, so these are my scores from yesterday. So I was 91% recovered, which means that I actually got some good sleep, 7 hours and 50 minutes. I had 2 big activities. One of them was like a CrossFit workout, which is that 12.6, and then 9.0 was just walking around the block a bunch of times on some sales calls. And so I had a day strain of 18. The max is 22. And so I pushed my body, 7/8 of the way that I could push it before I hit that red line. And so what I know for myself is that if I can get and so I've gamified this for myself. If I can get over a 15.0 day strain, my body is going to be so tired that when my head hits the pillow, there's nothing else that my brain can do. But like, dude, you pushed it today, you're going to fall asleep. And I now fall asleep in minutes. Even if I have a huge project that I'm working on, I'm, have anxiety about inventory or like a problem at like the office, I fall asleep so fast. On days where maybe I only have a strain of like 6 or 7, my body's like, hey, you can keep going. And so my brain keeps me up on those nights. So I found that sweet spot for me using smart data. So again, you can probably find similar objectives on like an Apple Watch, or I don't know if the Oura Ring has something like that. But like, again, I use the Whoop. The tool doesn't matter. What matters is how I've now leveraged data to make these decisions for myself. So again, I push for a day strain of 15. If I hit that, much easier for me to hack my sleep. Most of us, especially if we work on the computers, we don't move our body enough. And if we're not moving our body enough, our body's not super tired when we hit the bed and we hit the pillow, and it's going to cause us to stay awake longer. So just a little sleep.
Greg, how have you found a good ratio between like mental strain and physical strain to get to your goal?
It's a great question that I don't know that I have the answer, only because I don't know how to measure mental strain. I just know that for at least Monday through Friday, I mean, I know similar to you guys, like my days are just packed. Like I'm either on the phone or record. Like I know that like I usually don't have much to give by like the end of the day.
You're chasing kids,
and if I stare at a screen, a phone, or a computer any longer. Saturdays and Sundays is a little different to gauge because I try to stay off screens on the weekends. I do a lot of reading, like in actual physical books, and I'm a Dan Kennedy guy, so I have like every binder from him from like 30 years, worth of material. So I'm usually reading physical stuff on the weekends, and I can tell that my mental strain isn't as high on the weekends, but usually my physical strain's even higher because I'm coaching baseball, plus I'm doing a workout, plus I'm playing with a baby, plus I'm going to the park and doing a bike ride. And so the physical strain is usually like 19, 20, 21 going into the weekends. And I just know that to me, again, everyone's going to be a little different. This might not be a perfect system, but I've kind of gamified it, if you will, that I know that if I'm at that number, it's really going, it's going to help me to fall asleep faster. So
I love that.
I don't know if that
Never heard of that
answered your question, cool. But yeah,
no, it's great. I'll continue on there, man.
And so the other thing, just for those of you guys with kids, the other thing to help you fall asleep faster at night is obviously just to wake up earlier, right? Because you're going to be awake for more hours. It's going to help you to fall asleep. So, for those of you with kids, I wake up 45 to 60 minutes before the kids get up. And that helps me to prime myself for the day. I joked about this when I sent Joe the bullet points for this, but like I watch a lot of Sportscenter in the morning, right? Like I'm not one of those guys who does 87, meditations and, listening to books and, gratitude journaling. I'm not against any of that, but I enjoy Sportscenter, right? Like I know what's going on with LeBron, man. Like I know like why is Tom Brady like 50 and still throwing touchdowns? Like, I don't know. And so, I want to know those things. And then 50% of the time I read or write. But here's the thing that, and I'm going to talk about this in just a second, talking about how to create motivation, is that I don't really do an activity that gets me into motion and gets me into a peak state until after I drop the kids off school, because I don't want to peak too early. I feel like if I do some of these priming activities, and I've tested this a lot, that if I do some of these priming activities at 5:36 in the morning, but I'm not dropping my kids off till 8:30 and I'm not really getting to work till 9, a lot of my peak mental energy, not that it's wasted on the kids, right? Like I don't want it to seem that way, but I'm peaking before I'm ready to go sit down and write or sit down and have that sales call or do the big rock work that I need to do for the day. So just something to think about. Number 4, the ego equation. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. And this is one of the biggest reasons why I believe some entrepreneurs are much further ahead than others, is because of this equation. And so what I want you to do is, if you're watching this live, if you're watching the recording, there's 3 parts to the equation. I'd love to know which part of the equation you feel that you are at in your business right now, because it's going to be very telling as to why you are as far ahead as you are, why you're stuck, why you're not, creating that momentum in your business. So the ego equation, it starts like this. If your ambition is less than your ego, you will not take that first step. Meaning, if your ego is so strong and you're worried that someone's going to leave a funny comment, on a video that you post, or someone's going to make fun of you for creating that podcast, or you're so worried about what you look like, or that your hair is out of place, or that you don't have the perfect camera, or what if I don't use a fancy microphone? They're going to laugh at me. That is a bigger fear for you than your ambition. And your ambition is just your mission, your vision. Like, what do you want to accomplish? I want to create a book that changes the world. I want to help children to do this. But if your ego is greater than your ambition, you will never move forward. And this is where I saw so many of my clients stuck, is like they wanted to do something great, or at least they said on the surface level that they wanted to do something great. I want to help this type of person. I want to sell this many books. I want to launch this podcast and have millions of viewers. But then would go to record their first episode and they wouldn't like the way that their voice sounds. That's your ego getting in the way. Did your customers tell you that your voice sounds bad? Or did you just place so much pressure on yourself that you just stopped yourself from making any progress? If your ego is greater than your ambition, you will never move forward. And it is going to be very, very difficult for you. So that's the first part of the equation. The second part of the equation is when your ambition is equal to your ego. At this stage, you're willing to put the podcast out. You're willing to put the post up on social media. You're willing to write the free report. You're willing to put the landing page up, but you don't really say anything because you don't really want to offend anybody. You don't really, you're still worried about your ego being bruised, but you'll put something out there. And this is where you get a lot of the plain Jane vanilla stuff, or the copycats, or the people who don't stand for anything. Therefore, they stand for nothing. And these are the people who put out, 15 podcast episodes and they wonder why they have 3 viewers. Or they put up a video on YouTube and they wonder why no one's watching. It's because you aren't saying anything. You're scared to actually say something that matters because you're still a little fearful of your ego. So you're willing to put it out there, but you don't actually say anything that's going to maybe offend somebody, that's maybe going to turn someone away. Because marketing and putting content out in the world is really meant to do 2 things. It's meant to attract your tribe, the people that you want to work with, do business with, influence and impact. And it's meant to repel the other people. The best personalities in the world are polarizing. And maybe they're not polarizing to Republican Democrat levels like in the US right now, but they're polarizing at some level that they believe in something. Sally Hogshead calls this opinions of authority. They have opinions that they believe to be the truth, that affiliate marketing is the best way to grow an online business. They believe that to be true, but that's an opinion, because you could also do info marketing or e-commerce or Amazon or arbitrage or stock trading or real estate investing or whatever that it is. Those are all other ways. But if you believe that and you put that out there, well, you're now actually taking a stand that people can get behind, that they can rally behind. So if you're not taking that stand, your ambition is equal to your ego, and you're willing to put stuff out there, but you will never build that audience that really believes in what it is that you do. So the third stage is when your ambition, the thing that you are striving for, the mission that you have for the world, is greater than your ego. That's when the wheels come off. That's when things just start going marvelous, because you aren't worried about someone leaving you a funny comment, because you have 5,000 other people who are raving fans. You're no longer worried about looking silly on camera, because your message is more important than that. This is one of the most freeing things in the entire world. When you really have something worth fighting for, a why, an ambition, a mission, a purpose, whatever you want to call it, right? When that is greater than the fear of putting those things out into the world and out into the universe and having some backlash, that's when all the magic happens in business. And so I want you to think about right now in your business, where are you? Is your ego greater than your ambition and you're scared to put stuff out? Is your ego equal to your ambition and you're putting things out there, but you're getting no traction because you're just, taking a Brian Tracy quote and putting it on a pretty sunset background, but you're not saying anything? No offense to Brian Tracy. Love the guy. Been a business partner of ours forever. But if you're just taking his stuff and putting it out on your page, is that helping you to take a position? Is that helping you to build an army? Is that helping you? The answer is probably no. But if your ambition is greater than your ego, that's when you start to create unlimited energy, because you're willing to put whatever it takes into making sure that it actually happens. So this is a really, really big one. And I'd love to know where you guys are on that equation. All right, 3 more as we start to wrap up here today. I want to talk about motivation, because a lot of people think that the reason why they're not doing the things that they want is, I wasn't motivated today. I didn't have the motivation to film that video today, Greg. I didn't have that motivation to, work on my sales page or, whatever that it is. They think that it's motivation that's holding them back. And the truth is, you don't just wake up one day and feel motivated. Motivated is always followed by motion. You have to do something to incite that motivation. And so, people will say, I went to this Tony Robbins event or whoever event, and I'm all charged up and I'm all motivated now. Well, you did create motion. You jumped on an airplane, you got into a room, Tony moved you around, and you created motion. The problem is when you got back home, you fell back into your old routine and habits, and you haven't created a system or habits or, things that you're going to put into your morning routine that start to create that motion so that your brain is now more motivated. So we don't just wake up motivated, right? The majority of people don't wake up with the biggest smile on their face and I'm going to kill it today, right? We all wake up slow, right? So what we need to do is that we need to create motion. Motivation is always triggered by motion. So your job and your action step right now is to figure out what motions trigger your motivation. So you have to think back when I was motivated to get started, when I was motivated and got that funnel launched in 24 hours, what preceded that? What did you do that morning? What did you do that weekend going into a Monday? What motion did you take? What action did you take that triggered that motivation? That is how you create motivation. So did you read something? Reading is motion. Maybe you read something inspirational in the morning, and that reading helps to trigger you to now go and be motivated. Maybe writing. Maybe you write in a journal. Maybe you do free writing. Maybe I know a lot of info marketers write a daily email, and that writing gets them creating something, putting something out into the universe that now creates motivation for the rest of their day to do all the tasks that they need to do in their business. So it's writing. Maybe it's listening to Matt and Joe. You listen to their podcast on your drive to the office, and you listen to an amazing story or an inspiring story or a tactic that someone shared, and now that motivates you. to go and like implement that tactic when you get to the office, so maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's running, walking, maybe it's working out. That's obviously motion, right? You go to the gym, you put in that pump, your brain's kicking off all those endorphins and all the good stuff for you, and that creates the motion that creates the motivation. Maybe it's cooking. You cook in the morning, cooking breakfast. Again, you're producing something that creates that motivation. So the morning routine myth that I think a lot of people are starting to catch wind to is that it's not about doing 30 things in the morning, that you have to have, your water and put the apple cider vinegar in it with some lemon, with some weird, mushroom rub that you got at the farmer's market, and then have your kombucha and then do some meditation and then watch 15 minutes of a Zig Ziglar video. And then you can start your day. It's not about that. The thing that you need to do in the action step is, what is the action that you can take in the morning that's going to create motion? Is it going for a morning walk, taking your dog out for the walk, getting fresh air, getting the vitamin D, hitting your skin, hitting your sun? And that motion gives you the motivation to now get back inside, get on the computer and start typing. Is it, having a certain kind of a phone call? Is it going to the gym? Is it, spending 15 minutes reading? Is it free writing? You need to find your trigger that's going to get you motivated. That is the most important thing to creating motivation. You don't just wake up, snap your fingers, and you're motivated. You have to set something in motion. So how can you hack your day, hack your morning to create that motion that's going to motivate you for the rest of the day? And if you guys are watching this, if you drop in any comments, anything like that, what is that thing for you? What motion do you create in the morning that triggers your motivation? Motivation doesn't just happen. You have to create it. You have to trigger it in your life. All right. I'm a content guy. So one of the bullet points I talked about here was how to create like a never-ending flow of content. How do you create more content than anyone in your marketplace? And, as someone who's created thousands of videos in his own business, I look back and what are the things that stop people from creating more content? And I think the biggest thing is that they feel like they don't have enough ideas. I don't have enough things to talk about. I only got like 6 things to talk about. Therefore, I can only create like 6 videos or 6 podcasts or 6 memes on Facebook or whatever it is. So how do you create more content? I started looking at Gary Vee. Everybody, sees Gary Vee's content everywhere, whether you're a fan or not. But I started dissecting it. And I started like, how is he able to create so much content? And he really, if you break it down, he says the same thing like in every 3 or 4 videos. He's only got a couple shticks. But the way he's able to articulate it in different ways, how he's able to produce so much content is actually really simple. That's what I want to share with you here. And it's one of the biggest ways to create energy when you're creating content, is that you don't have to come up with the best idea in the world every time you go to create a video. The best way to create a lot of content and create energy for yourself, to take the pressure off of yourself, to make sure that your ambition is bigger than your ego, is simply the best hack, is to answer questions. If you look at every episode of Gary Vee, of Ask Gary Vee, of his new show, it's like the Underrated, Overrated or whatever, the only thing that Gary does is answer questions. That's literally his entire content strategy. Either D-Rock's asking him the questions, he has guests coming in to ask him the questions. After a speech that he gives, people come up to him and ask him the questions. All of his content comes from answering questions. And the easiest kind of content to create? Answering questions. Because you don't have to think about coming up with the perfect answer. You just have to answer the person's questions. And so the hack for you, the action step, is now going back to your calendar. If something important for you, the big rock in your business, is to create content that's going to build an audience, how can you once a week have somebody interview you for, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes, but a 30-minute block on your calendar? You will never have to worry about content generation again. So what we do, one of the things we do with our video clients is I ask them 10 questions once a month. They can answer these 10 questions in about 30 minutes. And so, Matt, what's the number one mistake that people make about, creating their podcast? Joe, what is something that people really need to do when they are putting out their podcast that they forget to do? What's a really cool story that you guys have about a listener finding your, like, I can come up with like 30 questions for the two of you guys in like 10 seconds. And now you guys don't have to think about this amazing idea and this opening hook and all of these things that you think have to go into a business or do a video that stops you from doing it. All you got to do is be like, you know what? I think the biggest mistake is this. And boom, you got an answer. And guess what? It's emotional. It's raw. It's real. It's authentic. It shows your personality. And it allows you to answer it off the cuff. Because if a client called you right now or a prospect, they're like, hey, Matt, Joe, I want to talk to you guys about joining your program. You wouldn't be like, all right, guys, give me like 20 minutes. I need to create an outline before we jump on this call, right? You would just jump on the call and answer their questions. So if you want to create a large volume of content, have, your virtual assistant. Hey, can you just like jump on Zoom with me and ask me 10 questions about what I do? You probably don't even know what I do. Can you just come up with 10 questions? Can you have a buddy? Hey, maybe you know a little bit about our business. Like, what have you ever always wanted to know about podcasting? Can you just jump on and like ask me a couple questions? And in 30 minutes, you can answer 5, 10, 15 questions, and you'll never have to worry about content again. And it'll be better content than the content that you spent hours and hours and hours formulating. All right, last one. Flow triggers. And you guys had Kotler on a couple weeks ago. I'm a huge Kotler fan. I'm getting ready to read Art of Impossible right now. I just went through The Rise of Superman for the 3rd time. And in that book, he talks about these triggers to help you to get into flow fast. So I did not come up with these. These are from actually Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. I never say his name right. And that Stephen took Csikszentmihalyi's work and built it into this program where he talks about flow triggers. So flow triggers, much like motion and momentum triggers that we talked about, are the things that you can do to drive yourself into a flow state. And so here is a list of them. And so flow is that feeling of where all time escapes you, where you don't feel like time is passing, where things become effortless, where things become easy, where you know the next move to make 3 moves in advance, and you're just in that state. It's like when Michael Jordan, 4th quarter, and he's just hitting shot after shot after shot. In sports, they kind of call it the zone. Well, it's flow is an actual state that we get into. You maybe have had it when you've been interviewed for a podcast and you can't believe the episode's over because you just you just felt like it was going perfectly and every word was coming out great. Maybe you were writing a sales letter and all of a sudden you looked up and you're like, holy crap, it's been 4 hours and you thought it was 10 minutes. That is the state of flow. So how do we get into that state? Well, there's some triggers. And again, these are all scientifically backed. I didn't make these up. But one of the biggest ones is complete concentration in the present moment. So if you have your phone open right now, 87 tabs open right now, your kids in the background, you have music bumping, you have like 9 things going on, how can you possibly concentrate in the present moment? So if you can remove all the distractions that are around you, phone goes on airplane mode, computer goes into, you turn the Wi-Fi off, you open up something like Evernote and you just have a blank page open in front of you. And maybe you have some flow state music playing, like just, some ambient music. Is that how you're able to get into that present moment? That's one way that you could do it. Getting things like immediate feedback. So Stephen talks about this in the context of action and adventure sports. So someone going to do like a backflip on a skateboard, they get immediate feedback on if the trick worked or not, because either they landed it and everybody's clapping, or they've like broken 3 bones and they know immediately. And so the immediacy of having feedback, and that's why, doing things like day trading, doing things like creating code help you to get that immediate feedback. That's why it could be things like, building a funnel. You're in Drop Funnels, which you guys love a lot, or you're in ClickFunnels or wherever it is, and you're building these pages and you're seeing it in real time. It's giving you that immediate feedback. It's giving you those dopamine hits, which is going to help you to get into that flow state faster. So find ways to create immediate feedback. One of the hardest things, let's say you're like writing a book and you're on like chapter 1. Well, you're not going to get feedback on that book for like a year, right? So that's going to, cause some depression or demotivation. How can you implement things that give you immediate feedback? Like no matter how many words you write today, you're sending it to a friend who's going to give you feedback that same day about the chapter that you wrote. That's going to help you to get into that flow state and write something better that day. Having clear goals, not I want to launch a podcast, but I want to launch this podcast with this name on iTunes on this date with this many listeners and this many guests. Having clear goals, and once you establish that, you put yourself into a flow state to go and accomplish that. This is one of my favorite ones, the challenge skills ratio. So if you're just sitting in your box, your comfort zone, and you're never actually challenging yourself to learn something new, it's really difficult to get into that flow state. Maybe you are creating a new product. You guys are doing a product launch right now. Like the challenge skills ratio of developing that, if it's something that you've done 19 times already, you're going to be bored and not actually put yourself into that flow state. But if you're trying a new piece of software, you're incorporating new things into that launch or a live stream or new partners or like something different, well, now there's a little bit extra challenge that wasn't there before. And that's going to help to trigger yourself into that flow state. Shared goals, right? So having teams like, Joe and Matt are working together on this launch. They have shared goals that they're going after. You see this again in sports. right now, like the Patriots and the Chiefs, they are in group flow because they're both, have these shared goals to win the Super Bowl. So when they can act as a unit, it's going to help the entire team get in flow together. Having high consequences. If we do this project and it fails, we could lose everything. Well, if during the buildup for that, the journey to that, you're going to be able to trigger yourself into flow much quicker because the outcome, could be very detrimental and bad. Having a rich environment. And then the last one is creativity. The more ways that you can be creative and not just do the same monotonous things, the better that it's going to be for you. Whew, man, that's a lot of stuff. Resource, The Rise of Superman. I'm going to stop talking for like 30 seconds and drink some water.
Take a
let
second.
you guys decompress. So
I just want to point out that you said the Patriots are playing the Chiefs.
I noticed
instead of your Florida team playing the Chiefs.
I'm a Dolphins fan and we are god awful. So, still rooting for the Bucks, but and the Patriots are there every year with Brady. So,
yeah. I mean, if you say the Patriots are playing somebody in the Super Bowl, most years you're right. So
very true. Yeah. So,
dude, great. That's funny. It's so true, though. It's better than our San Diego Chargers that don't exist
anymore.
Hey, your Padres are on fire, though. Like
they are. I can't wait for this year. But, dude, I mean, I've taken so many notes, and I always do this whenever I'm around you because you rattle off a lot all at once, but it's always like this summary, this condensed cliff notes of whatever the topic is, but you always sprinkle in way more than the topic itself. So I want to credit you just on the rules of life like that already gave me so many things to think about right there. And I'm curious if people are watching live, throw them in the comments. I want to hear some of the, maybe one of these 3 rules of life from before, or maybe one of those things that get you into action and momentum in the morning, because those things can literally set up your whole day for either, complete destruction or complete success. So, Greg, that's absolutely amazing. And let's definitely, before we get too far off, I want to talk about what you're doing with ambitious.com and Edge, because you've combined this interesting, oh my God, I already see one of my favorite bands on there. So you listening to Tycho. I'm a fan of Tycho for flow state type stuff and music.
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah. I think this is like a bonus one with the flow triggers is music. And so I literally just go to Spotify, and I'm not super smart. I just type flow state playlist, and people way smarter than me with a lot more time than me have built these amazing playlists, and they're freaking great. So
and Brainwave FM, we've had oh my God, I'm blanking on his name right now. But CEO of Brainwave FM was on the podcast, and we're hooked on it. That's what Matt and I use all the time. So things like that. Focus at Will is another great one that a lot of people talk about. But talk about Edge, and because literally since using your nootropics, your supplements, it's combined with exactly what you're saying here. It's like rocket fuel for the brain. And we did use it actually collectively for the podcast yesterday. We had a long podcast day. And it's like replacing coffee for me in a lot of senses. So it's interesting. Tell us about it.
Yeah. And so what I love that you said there is it's like rocket fuel once you've done the fundamentals, right?
Yep.
And so you're getting enough sleep. You're, if you eat, Wendy's 6 times a day and you're downing 2 monsters, and then you take a nootropic or any supplement for that matter, a greens powder. So I know you guys just had Ryan Lee on the podcast. Like, he has amazing greens powder, but it's not meant to be a complete replacement for your McDonald's lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you do the fundamentals and then you add some of these things on top of it, it is like rocket fuel, because most entrepreneurs look like this, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we've seen the desks of especially online marketers, they're going to, 7-Eleven and they're getting 2-for-1 monsters that are 24 ounces, and they just got this terrible stuff in them. And I keep getting people send me graphics like this all the time of 1 can of Red Bull has 90% of, your sugar intake for the day. It's got, taurine and just these things that are terrible for you. And just, all these chemicals that aren't even natural. And so, I was no better than anyone else. So I don't want anyone to think oh, you're better than me because I love Red Bull. I was a Red Bull drinker, right? I still enjoy the taste of a nice Red Bull here and there, or a Monster, in these kind of things. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to personally find a replacement for that, because I enjoy the act of having that drink next to me on my desk, like a Red Bull or like a Monster or like an afternoon coffee. And so when we set out to build this supplement brand, most things in the nootropic space are pills, right? You think like Bradley Cooper and Limitless. You pop the pill and like you're the smartest man in the world. And so that's cool. But I needed something, when we talk about like habits, really, really great books in the habit space. I'm reading Tiny Habits from BJ Fogg right now. And a lot of the habit stuff is all about replacing a habit with a new good habit. And so if I wanted to replace this energy drink, habit, I had to replace it with something that was a positive habit. So that's where we created Edge, which is, it is a nootropic that brings clean energy, 200 milligrams of caffeine from natural sources like green tea and ginseng. That's taking some of my favorite nootropic ingredients like lion's mane, it's a super mushroom that I say it's like made for people like us, entrepreneurs, with alpha GPC, bacopa monnieri, L-theanine, like just some really, really good natural stuff that doesn't give you the jitters. But it also, and this is what I love talking about, is like when you drink like a 5-hour energy, like, you just drank a 5-hour energy, right? Like your whole body's like trembling, right? It doesn't give you that kind of feeling, but what it does is it gives you that sustained optimal performance for like a day like you guys had, like a day of like, recording 4, 5, 6, 7 podcasts back to back to back. In a day where I really got to create this funnel, I got to write copy, and I got to get things done. It really does help with that. And so it is a drink. Our first flavor is a berry flavor. I really enjoy it. I'm actually taking it today. I was joking with you guys before we started, with athletic greens, mixed with Edge. Really, really cool. So
I don't recommend mixing it with buttered coffee like I accidentally did.
That's right.
That was it worked. It made me feel like I went to Mars that day. But
I just mix mine in with Mountain Dew every morning. It's perfect.
Perfect. Let's just spike that sugar. I love it. So that's what we created, man. And again, I created the product for myself. Now we're bringing it out to the marketplace. First flavor's berry. We have a really cool peach mango coming out in the next like 30 days or so, and they have a Gatorade lemon lime flavor coming out right after that. And just we have some really, really fun stuff. We're working on some coffee creamers that kind of do the same thing. And so just having a lot of fun in this space. And again, once you take care of some of the basics, this stuff really, really does help to optimize your performance, and it's really cool. And put together, Joe and I were talking like, hey, for people that want to go deeper on some of the stuff that we talked about today. I know I flew through this, but we've actually created a pretty cool program to help people go deeper on what we talked about today. And it's a program called Awaken Your Ambitions. And it's a program, it's a workshop that helps you. Like if you have an ambition, something inside of you that that you need to get done, that you really are striving for in your life, this program will help you to awaken those ambitions. First of all, find those motivating factors, define those ambitions, but then create a roadmap to get there. Because it's one thing to say like, I want to do something. It's another to actually get up and do it. And so we've created this program specifically to do that. And it was all based on like, this is one of my favorite quotes. I've had this since we bought ambitious.com 6 years ago. This was the quote that led us to that, is that most people lead lives of like quiet desperation. They want this thing, but they never go out and do it. They go to the grave with that still in them. I really wanted to write this book. I wanted to meet this girl. I wanted to do this hobby, but I'm too scared to do it. Man, that sucks. Right? Like I've done so many weird, cool, funky things in my life, all because I don't want to go to the grave with having lived a life of quiet desperation. Now, does everything I do succeed? Oh, heck no. Like I fail more times like than anyone, but I take more bats than anyone. And that's what this program really, really helps with. And it's why some entrepreneurs seem to continue growing and some never seem to get lift off. So it's a really, really cool program. It's a 7-module. We call it a snackable program. Each module is about 15, 20 minutes long. So it's not, hours and hours and hours of content. It's not theory, woo-woo, pie in the sky stuff, and again, I have nothing wrong with that. I do have like visual boards and like things like that, but like, that's not the thing that's going to get you to actually take action. And it's both personal and business, because if I can do all these things in my business, but I don't get to be at dinner with my family, or I have to miss another baseball game, or I have to keep missing things, like the whole reason why I'm alive, we feel like that's like not an ambitious life. That's not a life worth living. So that's kind of the program. We go over defining your ambition with clarity, intent, and focus, understanding why you don't have it yet, getting really deep on that ego equation that I shared earlier, and how to really identify where you are and how to go from the first stage to the second stage to ultimately get to that third stage. Cementing your ambition into life with the daily ambition template. This is something that I do every day, 5 minutes, something that I created, and you guys get that template. optimizing your biology and your environment. Something that we didn't really go over today is your environment, right? Like, is your environment conducive to helping you to get into those flow states? Is your environment a positive environment? And that could be your office. That could be, your settings. That could be the computer that you use. If it's like causing you carpal tunnel, that's not a good computer for you. You need to get a better computer or a better keyboard. Like, so we go in really deep into optimizing your biology and your environment. The 8 velocity principles, which help speed up time. How do you say, and I get this a lot from people. Well, I want to create like an online course, but we scheduled it in for like Q1 of 2023. And I'm like, really? Why can't you just do it this weekend? And so we speed up timelines for people with that. And then we go into the business model that helps you to do that to earn maximum profits in minimum time. And then we end it with some superchargers, which are some of my favorite things to geek out on and talk about. It's a $199 course. But as a friend of Joe and Matt, I'm going to hook you guys up today and do something fun. Plus, I'm going to give you the fuel that I use every day. We've been talking about it, so it's not like it's a secret. But I'm going to hook you up with a 30-day supply of Ambitious Edge. So we're going to send you a bottle in the mail. We're going to get it there super fast, like 2-day shipping. We're not Amazon, but we can get it there quick and have a lot of fun in the process. So we're going to hook you up with the program, just some cool people getting it, sharing it. So you get the program and you get 30 days of Ambitious Edge. There's no continuity, no rebills, nothing like no shenanigans like that. The course is $199. We sell Edge for $49.99. You can get that at ambitious.com or now at walmart.com, which we're really excited about. So $248.99. And today, as friends of Matt and Joe, we're going to give you a 60% discount. You can get the entire package for only $99 today. So you're going to get instant access to the course, and we're going to ship out Edge. We ship same day. This is something I learned from Ryan Lee. So again, I'm always learning. Get your customers the product fast, and so we live and die by this. And so we ship product out same day. So just one payment, $99. You get the entire course, the entire program that goes much, much deeper than we went today, as well as the supplement that we've created that will really be that supercharger for you in the process. The fancy link that we got for everybody is ambitious.com/hustle. This is a link just for friends of Matt and Joe. It's the only way you're getting hooked up with this, with the price, with actually getting Edge, like all of that stuff. So ambitious.com/hustle is where you can get that. And, you can use the same stuff that I use to fuel my ambitious life, the stuff that Matt and Joe, they at least used it yesterday. And they put it in their bulletproof coffee because they're weirdos. Like, I don't know. Like, you guys.
I didn't. That wasn't me. No.
That was all me, man.
No, I've actually used it every weekday for the last 2 weeks. On the weekends, I go coffee in the mornings. On the weekdays, I go this in the morning. So I used it this morning.
Yep.
I truly appreciate that. Like, cause I know trying new products and adding things in your routine, it's a big ask. And so, humbled that people are taking it, trying it, enjoying it. And that's what we did it for, but it's been fun.
Well, and it's one of those things, and this is what I like about it, is that it's everything you said it is. It's sustained, it's not like it's going to spike your energy, but you actually feel a difference, like quick. And we try a lot of stuff. I know Matt, for instance, if you're not really feeling it, you're probably not going to act on it or continue with it. It's like one of those things you kind of want to feel it just in time too. So this is really rad, but I'm pumped I want to dig into the workshop myself because just knowing you, Greg, and the way that you get stuff done like that. And I know how packed your life is, how rich it is with family and all your commitments. I mean, you are the person you say you are here. And I think there's a reason why so many people at our last mastermind was like, Greg. It was just like, you were the talked about presentation. This was even deeper than that one, because I think it was like 20 minutes. This was a full hour. I can't even imagine what the course is, the workshop. So definitely go to ambitious.com/hustle. No doubt about it. Get your hands on it. $100 is a steal, especially to get something like this in the mail as well. That's brand new. So, any questions? We had some comments popping in here. Matt, you probably have a better visibility of the.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything that's been coming through has been more comments than questions. Alan did sort of form this in the form of a question. Ambition is less than ego. Is this imposter syndrome?
I don't think it's imposter syndrome. I think that you haven't found something that you really believe in that's worth fighting for. because when you do, it's not necessarily imposter syndrome. Like I've always been this person that if you're like starting to play guitar and you're like a level 3, well, you can teach level 0, 1, and 2, right? That's not making you an imposter. You're an imposter if you're trying to teach behind the head solos and how to sell out, arenas. But if you believe that guitar is going to help someone to have more confidence in their life, or, create a hobby that's going to add fun to their life, is that being an imposter? I don't think so at all. I think it's finding that thing that's worth fighting for, that thing that just drives you. You just have this inner ambition inside of you that you can't go on in life if you don't tell other people about this. I think that's really the thing that you need to explore. It's not necessarily imposter syndrome, is at least how I think about it.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And Alan was talking in there. Basically, habits are a must as well. And it's like habit stacking. I know with the tiny habits, BJ Fogg and, Matt and I were just talking about this yesterday. It's like that will allow you to kind of get out of that ego mindset if you start that habit stacking in the right way. It can quickly, shift it more into the ambitious side of the equation for sure.
I love it. Well, why don't since that was kind of the question, I forgot his name because you took him off the screen. So I'm a terrible person. Alan. Yeah. So Alan, if you DM Matt or Joe or Hustle and Flowchart, however you saw this, with your address, they'll get it over to me, and I will send you one of these on the house. So for participating, for asking a question. So just however you got to reply to Matt and Joe, do that.
Get a hold of it. Yeah.
Somehow they'll get it to me, and we'll magically get it out to you. But yeah, reach out, and Alan, I'll take care of you, man, because I don't ever want you to feel like an imposter. I want you to feel like your best self. You're that having that optimal state where you believe in what it is that you're doing. And so if Edge can play a small role in that, let's make it happen.
Definitely, man. And I know, a lot of folks weren't catching us live or you're in Spain. Alan's in Spain. Hopefully it works out.
I have a lot of trouble shipping this through customs, but I will make it happen, Mr. Allen.
We'll help out if need be there, Greg. But yeah, I mean, this is just awesome. And I was going to say, put comments if you're catching this after the live stream. Still, throw in comments. Greg's going to see him. He's in our group, our Facebook group. If you're on YouTube catching these, go join our Facebook group. But go reach out to Greg. I mean, go to ambitious.com/hustle. Go get this package because it's a killer deal. And I think this is the very first time you've offered it as well, right?
It is.
So it's even cooler. But, pay attention to all the other stuff Greg's doing in terms of just his teaching. I just love the way your brain thinks, Greg. And I think we all speak a similar language. It's just thinking differently, I would say. So it goes big way. Alan's laughing over here. Figure it out, Alan. You rock, man. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Greg, anything final here before we wrap her up?
No, as with any training, especially drinking through the fire hose training like this, like the goal isn't to do all 7 things, right? Can you pick one that you're going to do? Maybe you're going to focus on that one thing to do in the morning that's going to create motion, that's going to get you into momentum for the rest of the day. Maybe it's you're going to establish 3 rules. Maybe you're going to pick freaking one thing that you can actually do. And then if you do it, and you're like, whoa, that actually worked. Well, then guess what? Go do a second thing. And then the problem becomes when we try to do all 7 of those things at the same time. And the reason, look, I'm like a content guy. So I like to give and to give and to give, but I'm hoping that just one thing sticks with you. And if it does, it's a home run. It was worth my time. It was worth Matt and Joe's time. And so find that one thing and do something about it. That's
100%.
Nothing changes until you change. So
yeah. And I know there's look at that.
The crowd's going wild. What can I say?
Alan's pumped on it. So hey. I know we have more people watching us and more will see it, but Alan, you rock for being here with us the entire time too. So Greg, we're gonna make sure more people see this because it's needs to be had. So I appreciate you, my friend, and we'll have you back in some form, podcast or something.
It was fun, gentlemen. Appreciate it.